Daniel Dubois, boxing trainer Don Charles, joins us live as the fight itself is fast approaching. And the fight, well, what a fight. Daniel Dubois on August the 26th goes in Poland against the one and only IBF, WBA, WBO heavyweight champion of the world, Alexander Usyk. Wow. Wow. It is live and exclusively live at that on talkSPORT. And Don is with us here in studio, as I said. Don Charles, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you. Thanks for having me here.
We are delighted to have you here. This is Spencer Oliver, a man you know very well.
Indeed.
Simon and I are thrilled at this. Simon knows his boxing, as you probably know, Don, inside out. So we're thrilled that you join us. You are hot foot back from Sierra Nevada, Spain, where you've had your training base with Daniel Dubois. How is he? How's he looking?
Oh, he's in tremendous shape, both physically and mentally. And yeah, he's ready to go.
This is all about opportunity, isn't it? Huge opportunity. Fair play to Daniel Dubois to step up and box Alexander Usyk. You know, we know that it's Independence Day out there, isn't it? Ukrainian Independence Day, just a few days before. So there's going to be a lot of Ukrainians. It's on the border of Ukraine, really, 50 miles or so from there, where there's a lot of Ukrainians living. So he's going to be going into a hostile crowd. Has he prepared for that, Don?
Most definitely. I mean, look, when we knew, when they won the purse bids, first thing that came to my mind is that, like you quite just alluded to, that it's going to be quite a hostile atmosphere. Apparently, there's about 250,000 Ukrainians who are based and settled in that particular area where the fight is going to take place. So we anticipate it's going to be a very hostile atmosphere. So that's one of the reasons we went to Spain for camp, up high in the mountains, 2,500 feet above sea level, to make it as uncomfortable as we can for Daniel during preparation.
And in that preparation, I know because I've been speaking to you whilst you've been out there, and he has had top-class sparring. I know you may not want to reveal that, but I do know that he's had top-class sparring, and he couldn't have been in any better shape. And you tell me that you've got a game plan, and you go out there and you get victory. What is the game plan? How do you beat someone like Alexander Usyk, who can adjust the way that he adjusts?
Yeah, listen, I'm not going to sit here and give you our game plan, but I'll touch on the outlines of it. It's common knowledge that you can't. This guy Alexander Usyk's a majestic, masterful boxer. So it would be silly of anybody to go and try and box this guy. And you're going to have to box him in parts, but majority of the parts you have to fight this guy. It's
like educated pressure. Now, you also trained someone that boxed Usyk before, and that's Derek Chisora. And Derek actually showed the blueprint on how to beat Alexander Usyk, and that is sort of by bullying him, didn't he? Like, Usyk worked it out in the second half of the fight, and he sort of took over, but Derek put up a great performance. Daniel's younger, he's more explosive, very heavy-handed, so that probably gives him a better chance.
Well, talk is cheap, as they say. We've done our homework. There are remnants you can draw from various fights that, when I've been studying Usyk, there are various parts of different fights. You piece them together and fuse them together and then devise what you believe will be the perfect game plan to dethrone this guy.
Have you taken much, Don, if anything, from the way that Anthony Joshua approached the task in hand against Usyk?
Most definitely. I mean, Anthony had his moments during the fight. The second fight, round 9 in particular, where Usyk appeared very hurt and just need to jump on him. And listen, I'm not going to go into details. I know what I've seen. I know what I've seen in various. I've studied this guy too. I can't study him anymore. It's almost impossible.
Yeah. Usyk has an incredible engine. I think that's where he takes over. Unlike other heavyweights, he moves for 12 rounds. He moves around the perimeter of the ring, and he seems to get better and stronger as the rounds go on. You've obviously prepared for that because that's where the fight can be won and lost in that second half of the contest.
Most definitely. Again, I'm not going to go into. You're trying to trick me into
giving
you my game plan. Keep trying.
And I'm quite surprised at that, but keep trying, Spencer.
Keep trying. Listen.
Who's he been sparring with? Who's Dubois been sparring with?
That again, I can't.
Why, Don? Why? We're live on talkSPORT. Tell us.
I'm not at liberty to tell you. One of the guys is English. Is Harvey Dykes from Brighton. He's a cruiserweight, double ABA champion. Okay. That's what you're gonna get, right? The rest, no. The rest are already international. We flew them in from all over the world. And it was very difficult, mind you, to pinpoint the people who can replicate remotely near to what Usyk does.
What he does,
he has got
for sure.
He has got a very unique style, so it's hard to find sparring partners who can replicate that. So we came as near as possible to identifying those personnels and then flew them into Spain.
I think it's fair to say, Jim, that I do know the sparring partners, and you couldn't have got better class sparring partners. You couldn't have had better preparation. So Daniel's got everything. He's had everything. They're top class fighters.
Okay, Simon, you and I have seen Dubois fight.
Yep.
We were there on the night of the Joyce fight.
Yep.
So all these many months on, what chance do you give him of causing, with all due respect to your fighter, Don, what would be presumably a major upset?
I think I'll give him a real chance. He has all the attributes to do the job. Everything that Anthony Joshua didn't do in the first fight, to some extent, is what Daniel Dubois needs to do, and also learn other lessons from it. He has the power. It wasn't so long ago. You know, I remember sitting with Jeff Powell at that fight. The expectation was no one expected Joyce to win that fight. And I watched Daniel come into that fight, and I felt that psychologically he wasn't prepared for that fight. And of course he got damaged in the fight, and people turned it into something that it wasn't. People like David Hay jumped on the bandwagon saying he swallowed it. When they found out that there was damage to his face, and ultimately he didn't, because people started to question his courage and his bravery. Jeff Powell was talking to me, and there was writing at the time about forget Joshua, forget Fury, this is the one that's coming.
Inexperienced.
Daniel Dubois has the attributes. Now, I don't think it will be as big a surprise. It will be on paper because of what people built Usyk up to. I don't think he's been hit by anybody that can hit as hard as Daniel Dubois, or been prepared to do that, because Anthony Joshua can hit as hard as Daniel Dubois, but he didn't put himself in range to do it. And with that in mind, if Daniel can close the gap and do what Joshua can't, I'm not going to be surprised. I won't sit there. If I go to the fight over in Poland, which I'd like to do, and I think I will, or if I watch it on television and see it, or if I don't even do that and hear the news in the morning, I wouldn't be surprised if I saw Daniel Dubois beat Alexander Usyk, because this is a proper heavy-hitting, very talented heavyweight, and the narrative that I don't want to hear is this is a good chance for him. And he's 25 years of age. This ain't a good chance. This is the chance.
You can't.
It's here and it's now.
Listen,
people are spinning that yarn. They're saying you're 25 years of age. You know, if you don't do it this time, you could do it next time.
Well,
this is the
John,
moment.
let me put you right in the spot. Where does it put Dubois if he gets one over Usyk?
Where does it put him?
In the world standing.
Well,
if you're talking about people like Lennox Lewis,
I'll let the public, you guys, decide where we know where we want to be, and we know what we have to do to be there.
When you're talking about heavyweight upsets and you see Lennox Lewis get knocked out by Oliver McCall, Lennox Lewis, Hasim Rahman, I don't pull it in that bracket, right? Or even Mike Tyson against Buster Douglas.
No, you obviously don't either, Simon.
Upsets happen, but you've got to look at this and see exactly what it is. And Don knows Alexander through, you know, having other fighters boxing him before. He knows the strengths, he knows the weaknesses, he knows what he's got to implement. Daniel's young and he'll fight with his heart on his sleeve. And if he does that, he could cause the upset. And that is a fact, because he is explosive and he does carry the power.
What journey has he been on since Joyce? Because when I watched him at Mansion House come in, I thought he looked anxious, he looked tight, he didn't look relaxed, and he ran out of ideas in that fight. And the moment that Joe could take some of his punches, all of a sudden Daniel looked a little bit one-dimensional. Now, he's gone on and had 4 fights. The last fight against Lorena caused some concern, obviously, because of the first round, and some of that will be down to the injury that he had. Correct. But the journey that he's been on in the 4 fights, he's fought a couple of people that have been cruiserweights in those fights, right? And Trevor Bryan was a good win in Monte Carlo and all that went with it. But the journey that's gone from Joyce to where he is now, the 4 fights, all of them have been knockouts. This is a kid that's got a 95% knockout record, so we know he's got the power. Dynamite is not a misrepresentation. But where is he now mentally as much as he is physically, from that journey against Joyce to where he is against Usyk and everyone you're going in against the monster?
I'm glad you said mentally, because a lot of things in life, no matter what we do, most of it is in the mind. It was about getting this young man. Let's not forget he's only 25 years old and he's the current WBA regular champion. Let's not forget that his achievements to date. Mentally, we've worked a lot on that, okay? And the people that I've put around him, including myself, we're all old, old wise heads, And like I said, he's in a very, very, very good place. I'm not sure if you've seen a few interviews he's given lately. He's smiling from ear to ear.
Speaking a bit more as well.
He's a happy boxer. A happy boxer is a very dangerous fighter.
I think it's fair to say
he's in a really good place.
I think it's fair to say when he boxed Joe Joyce, inexperience let him down there. You saw actually on the ring walk, and it was in lockdown at that time, wasn't it? You saw in the ring walk.
Yeah.
You see a fight can be won and lost there. As soon as I saw him walking in, I went,
Me too.
Joe
Me too.
had been there before, and he hadn't. And Joe had come in, and he was buzzing. He had the smile on his face, and Daniel looked like a rabbit in the headlights. And I think that inexperience puts him where he is today. So I think that's what he's learned from that fight. If you can go back and take something from it, you know, and he's rebuilt and he's got 4 good wins, that puts him in a really good place. 'Cause you're right in what you say, Simon. He was considered by many to be a guaranteed world champion.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.